What's up, Red fam? I'm Alicia, and I'm so excited to welcome you to REDcast. We're so glad to have you joining us for the beginning of what we believe will be a blessing and an encouragement in your life. Today, we're continuing our Available series with a live talk called Delete the Distraction, focusing on how to stay on track when everything around us is calling for our attention. So grab a friend, grab a snack, get those notes out, and get ready to be encouraged and inspired. We'll see you there.
What's going on, guys? I'm Joseph.
And I'm Jeremy.
And this is Red Nights. We're coming to you on the broadcast today. Look, we're really excited to be doing this. This is the first time we've ever done anything like it. And we've been in a series at Red Nights talking about being available to God, talking about knowing that whenever we're going through things in life, He wants to speak to us and be closer to our hearts. And with the coronavirus situation that's been happening, a lot of people all over the world have been concerned. And we just want to take a minute today to first of all say we're praying for you. We want to keep coming to you with videos like this to encourage and engage you. But Jeremy, just last week, you were talking a little bit about a series in that Available talk. And I want you to dive in a little bit and share that with the people that are watching, and just talk about how even in this time of confusion and frustration where we're uncertain, about how God is still in control and how He can make all things new even in these times.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. We've been in this series at Red Nights called Available, and really diving into what does it look like to be available to God in our life. Yeah. And it's funny, a lot of people hear that like, oh yeah, God, I'm available. And the more God really started asking me, are you really available for what I want to do? I was like, shoot, man, I don't really know if I am like that. And the way how He defined being available to me was removing anything else that would take priority in our life, where really He should be being placed. And so last week we were talking about this message called Delete the Distraction. And it was just a reminder of really saying that God is in control. And a lot of times what happens is that when we're distracted, we begin to look at all these other different things and different people or outlets. And we forget that those things are great in their place, but when they become greater than God, then it's a distraction.
That's right. I think one big thing that we've also talked about a lot is that in times like these, God still wants to minister hope. He still wants to minister peace to us, and He wants to fill us with a sense of love, even in the middle of fear and anxiety. Yeah. And it's just beautiful to see how, even in times like these, I mean, going to the grocery store or just even talking to people, you see how people are maybe panicking or running around trying to get supplies, but in the midst of that, I've seen opportunities where people will stand around one another. They're talking to one another. They're encouraging one another on social media, or, they're finding ways to just connect. And I think that this just shows the beauty of how God is still showing up in the middle of all of those situations. So why don't we dive into that conversation on distraction a little bit? What does distraction look like from your perspective? How do we identify what distraction is for us?
That's such a good question. And I think, honestly, the easiest way to define what a distraction is just to think about it on a practical basis. It's anything that takes your attention from where you're looking at, what your focus is, and putting it and placing it towards something else. And each and every day, we're met with these things that are constant. I mean, we live in a world where things are dinging and ringing and notifications, and that's right. Great in their place, but it becomes so much,
Exactly.
know? And so looking at that, one thing that I notice is that when you are paying so much attention to a distraction, it becomes an idol. People are like, idol? What do you mean? I ain't like going like worshiping my phone and doing all of that.
Just bowing down on the ground, right?
But really what ends up happening is that an idol is anything that you express devotion towards. So a lot of times we're distracted because in several ways we're running away from maybe things that are going on at home, or we're running away from things that are going on in our spiritual home or in our body. We don't want to deal with maybe our past, and so we run to all these different things to get comfort. And we forget that God's the only person that can truly comfort us.
That's true.
And secure us in who he is. And so we begin to put our trust and put our hope and put what we rely on in these things, whether it's social media or whether it's people or whether it's outlets or whether it's going out excessively, because we're trying to find a source of hope.
Yeah.
But then we forget that the word worship is literally an object that we put our extreme devotion towards. So now you have an idol, which is what you're putting your devotion towards, and then you're worshiping that because you're expressing worship. You're expressing attention to that thing that you're devoted to. And so now the devil gets us in this place of being devoted to our distraction. And we forget that God's in control because we put ourselves in a sense of control because we're so focused on all these other different things.
Yeah. And the things you just outlined were really powerful. A couple things I wanted to actually touch on from what you said I thought was really interesting. You talked about how distraction is essentially, it's a sense of devotion. It's whatever you're giving attention to. And one thing that I think that is so powerful about distraction is that, there's several definitions, but one definition that stood out to me is really being pulled apart, because it's not necessarily bad to have a variety of things that you want to focus on. But when you're being pulled apart from the most important thing to other things that are important, but maybe not equally important, what it creates is this extreme agitation, as one definition calls it, or your emotions get all over the place because you're not giving that devotion, giving that focus to the thing that is most important, and then everything else falls into place. And so I think it's interesting how, even a good thing, sometimes we think of a distraction as like a negative or a bad thing, but a lot of times distractions can show up in the form of something that actually is good or beneficial to our lives, but it ends up becoming this thing that pulls us away from the main thing. And so it's like you can have a good thing at the expense of a God thing, or a good thing at the expense of a beneficial thing. And I think that what that just creates is a sense of our emotions being all over the place, because at the end of the day, God is the source. He's the thing that we start with, or the one that we start with. And that is where we get our sense of hope from. And so I thought it was just really interesting that you brought that up, because our attention, when we focus our attention in the right direction, we focus our attention on the source, the thing that matters most, then everything else kind of falls into place from that. I almost like to think of it like if, let's say you're on a team, right? Or you're playing sports, and I know we're not having any sports going on right now. So maybe this might hurt a little bit, but maybe it can help you to get the picture. A lot of times when you have a game that everyone's focused on, the game that a team is focused on, they have to start with the game as the goal. But to get to that game, you've got to practice, right? And good. So if the focus is just getting to the game, then their whole mindset will be fixated on that and not the practice. But if you focus on the practice, knowing that the championship is in mind, then you will do everything that you need to do and focus on what you need to do to accomplish and achieve that. And so in like way, I think that's what God wants us to do in the middle of anxiety and panic. He wants us to focus on him, focus on his love, focus on the peace that he provides in the middle of that, to give us a sense of direction for where to go next.
And I think that's so powerful, because God's goal for our life is peace. And so what ends up happening is that when we're focusing on all these things that distract and take our attention from, we end up having our peace stolen.
Yeah.
We end up having our peace stolen because we're looking to things that give us peace. But if they're not the originator of our peace, they can't fulfill us with peace.
Come on.
And God's the only person that can do that.
That's
and
true.
I think when we realize that God is in control, 110%. And he didn't just start being in control with the coronavirus. He didn't just start being in control with you working that job that he's blessed you with, or you having those friends that you have in your life.
And he didn't fall out of control with you either losing it or this whole thing happening.
100%. And because that's the case, then we're able to recognize and realize, God, everything that's going on right now, it's not designed to destroy me. It's designed to strengthen me.
Amen.
But if my strength is in something that's distracting me, then I'll never have the focus to realize that you're trying to build me.
Exactly.
And so a lot of times I think we have to realize and come to this place of understanding and saying, God, you have this under control.
That's right.
That you are literally the person that's working things out. And there was something that you said that was powerful. You know, we practice because our end goal is to win.
That's very true.
And God literally says, in this world, you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. Yeah. And so what that means is that our end goal is to know that he's already overcome the thing that we're trying to wrestle against. So if you're feeling like, oh man, I don't really know how to fight, or I don't know how to go to God in this situation, I don't know how to go to God in this time, then you have to understand it's not about what you think or what things look like. It's about what God said.
Yeah.
And so when you can pivot your perspective from, okay, this is how I feel, and this is, I feel afraid, and I feel anxious, and I feel worried, then you can come to the realization that God's got you.
Amen.
And the more you spend time in his word, the more that he provides you with that peace that you need.
Yeah, that is such a solid thought. And I want to state this really quickly, and then we can jump into some practical ways for people that are watching, for people that are in the middle of this, trying to figure out, okay, how during this time I'm spending more time at home, and I obviously want to get some of that stress, some of that pressure off. How do I find ways to really still stay engaged and not lose my focus on what matters the most? I do believe that things like this have a way of sometimes refocusing us when we might be looking at things that don't matter so much, like maybe what people think of us, or how we're going to make it, how we're going to be successful. Those are obviously great things, but I think that crises like this have a way of bringing us back to the center and realizing what matters most is the people that we're around, the way that we care about people, and really this search of who our Creator is and how he wants to wrap us with his love.
Yeah.
And there was just a thought that came to mind, and it brings me to John 10:10, where it says the thief comes only. So when he says only, that means that there's a limit on him, right? He comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. That means he can do nothing but that. But then it says, I have come that you would have life and have life to the full. And the thing that I think is so fascinating about it is the enemy wants to steal our focus, kill our courage, and destroy our vision, right? If he can distract us, if he can take our focus off of the things that matter most, he can get us caught up in the fear and the anxiety. Our courage can be lost in the middle of that to actually do things that matter. And then what he can do is by stealing our joy, he can destroy our vision for the future. And I want to encourage you today, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this from, no matter what's going on, corona, no corona, job loss, friends leaving you, whatever's happening, there is still a future for you. There is still a tomorrow for you.
Yeah.
God is on your side. He's fighting for you, and he has a promise for your life. His word says that he would never leave you. He would never forsake you. And so I just want to share that. But as we're wrapping this up, what are a few ways, Jeremy, that you believe that the people that are watching this, what are a few ways that we can find ways to either delete distraction or also refocus in on the things that matter most?
I think it goes really just in defining. The way you can win is defining what it is that's pulling you from, and say, okay, I got to refocus so I can go towards. And so when you know where you're running from and you know where you're running towards, you have an end goal.
Yeah.
You have a destination.
That's right.
And so we're talking about reaching every destination. How do we reach the destination that God has set before us? You got to look and see what it is that's distracting you. And so if I know, for me, I'm a person that is using my phone a lot. And so I know if a lot of people are constantly reaching out to me and texting me and doing all that stuff, and if I know that that's distracting me from saying, okay, maybe I didn't get that worship in.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't spend that time in prayer. Maybe I didn't even just read, or whatever that looks like. So for me, I have to say, okay, God, make the priority the priority.
Absolutely.
I got to focus on you. And if that looks like maybe not responding to people in the moment, but putting you first, then that's me deleting a distraction because I've pivoted my perspective and my priority.
Exactly.
Because see, if I realize that my priority brings God is my priority and he brings me hope, then I have peace when I turn to him.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's so important. I think it's more about the priority of loving God and then loving your neighbor. I can't fully love people if I do not love God first. If I don't give my love tank, as some people like to say, love tank, right? Think of it
Yeah.
like you're filling up your gas tank, right? Your car has all the potential
Don't let it be on
to go
E.
as far as it can go. But if you don't fill it up, all that potential is wasted. And so first we get that love from God. He encourages us, but then we now have to reach out and love our neighbor. And in these times, we have a lot of people that are hurting. So what does that look like? Send a text to a friend, right? If you're reading a scripture or you're reading a book, or you want to just send an encouraging thought to somebody, find 5 people. I encourage you this week. Find 5 people that are in your life with the margin that you have to encourage them, to speak life into them, to tell them that they're loved, to tell them that they're valued. Let's do that. Let's speak life to people and let's encourage them in moments like these, because you never know, something that you could share might be something that changes the course of somebody's whole day. But I think another thing too that's so powerful, and maybe we don't even think about this so much. Another thing too is the more that you actually take time away to spend time with scheduling some of the things in your life. Like, I'm going to take an hour. I'm going to take an hour to pray, or I'm going to take an hour to read. I'm going to take an
Some of you
hour
are like
to
an
just...
hour on reading?
Some
Oh
of you
my
guys are
gosh.
like, you're just going to go nuclear off of that, right? But just taking an hour, maybe 30 minutes, 15 minutes to just say, I'm going to get still. I'm not going to have all this other stuff going on. I'm going to be intentional. I guarantee you that will make all the difference in your life.
And yeah, I think that's powerful. I think when you're talking about being still, I think in this time, the greatest thing that we can do is be still.
Yeah.
I mean, some of you are like, we don't have a choice. But think about it. The Bible says, be still and know that I am God.
Yeah.
That word still in Hebrew, it means to be aware. And so I believe when we shift our focus from distraction and from what all these things that we're hearing and going on, that doesn't mean not to know that it's going on and be aware of it, but understand that our awareness of God is greater than our awareness of our problem.
That's right.
And David says, oh, magnify the Lord with me. Let's exalt his name together. If you're magnifying God, the thing that you're looking at or we're looking at just got 25 billion times smaller.
Come on.
That means you can't even see it because you're too busy focused on what he has for you. And so understand that he's working everything out, that he has a plan, that he has a purpose, that he knows the plans that he has for you. If you can trust in that hope and you can trust in that promise, then you'll be able to have peace in the middle of this. And I think that's super important.
That's incredible. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video today. We are hoping that you're encouraged. And hey, get the conversation going. Share this video on Instagram. Share this video on Facebook. Share this video all over, wherever you got. Some of y'all still got Twitter and MySpace. I see you. Share this video wherever you can. Spread the love, spread the joy to all of your friends. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave us a comment, DM us. We would love to be there for you, connect with you, and encourage you along the way. But once again, this is Joseph signing off.
And I'm Jeremy signing in.
We love you guys. Take care. God bless.
Let's go.
Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, drop them down below. We would love for you to share this video with friends and family so that we can bring encouraging and inspiring content your way. So remember, spread love, not germs, and we'll see you next week. Peace out.